What if every safety rule you've ever heard around wild animals wasn't just advice, but a record of people who thought they were the exception? Men with money, access, and experts in their ears, all stepping past the same invisible line. Some ignored written warnings. A few believed they had control. But the moment each animal moved, none of that mattered. Because in these encounters, there's no negotiations, only instincts. And once it starts, it ends fast. The mining executive who opened the wrong gate, Milan Vorex. It was May 12, 2015, and the South African bush had gone completely dark by the time Milan Vorex pushed through the rear terrace doors of Thornveld Private Estate. Milan was a 52-year-old mining logistics executive from Johannesburg who had purchased a fractional ownership stake at a luxury safari property near Hoedspruit. He had privately offered a substantial additional payment to gain closer access to restricted wildlife areas. The estate owner accepted, despite serious internal objections from staff and wildlife consultants who had explicitly warned that allowing Milan near enclosed predators would be unsafe. That evening, Milan had consumed at least 6 whiskeys at the lodge bar. Just before 11, he walked alone toward the eastern paddock, after dark, in a facility that required armed escort after sunset. That rule had been quietly suspended for him. African lions possess bite forces exceeding 650 pounds per square inch, with canine teeth nearly 3 inches long. Adult males weigh up to 550 pounds and retain every predatory instinct, regardless of time spent in captivity. The eastern paddock held Tao, a 7-year-old male lion flagged as unsuitable for any guest interaction. That recommendation had also been overridden. Security cameras recorded Milan sliding open the secondary service gate and stepping inside. Tao rose immediately. Shoulders lowered, head extended, tail still. Milan crouched and extended his hand toward the approaching lion, in his intoxicated state, a gesture of connection. To Tao, it mimicked the posture of prey. The lion closed the gap and clamped his jaws directly onto Milan's throat. He dragged him 30 feet across the enclosure, leaving a continuous blood trail through the dirt. Carotid compression would have caused unconsciousness within seconds. Armed guards arrived 40 seconds after the breach was spotted on camera. 2 warning shots finally caused Tao to back away. Medics found no pulse. Milan was declared dead at the scene. Money removed the rules, but it didn't remove the instincts. When experts warn you and barriers exist, they are there for a reason. One wrong gate, one wrong step, and the outcome is final. The hedge fund manager who fed the wrong animal, Rhett Caldera. It was October 3, 2016, and the sun had barely cleared the peaks above Aspen when Rhett Caldera stepped off his deck carrying his phone and a plastic container of apple slices. Rhett was a 41-year-old hedge fund manager from Denver who had purchased a seasonal property outside Aspen 6 months earlier, not out of genuine outdoor interest, but to project the image of a man connected to something raw and untamed. Neighbors later told investigators he routinely dismissed local wildlife guidance as overprotective. His housekeeper noted a growing fixation with documenting wildlife encounters on social media. That morning, Colorado Parks and Wildlife had posted notices throughout the neighborhood warning residents not to approach bull moose during rut season and to maintain at least 50 yards of distance. The flyer was on his own mailbox. He walked toward the animal in slick-soled loafers. Bull moose can weigh up to 1,500 pounds and stand 7 feet at the shoulder. During autumn rut, testosterone spikes dramatically, making bulls unpredictably aggressive toward anything they perceive as a challenge. Their primary defense is not to flee, it is to charge and trample, driving massive front hooves down repeatedly with crushing force until the threat stops moving entirely. They cause more wildlife injuries in Colorado than any other species. As Rhett moved within roughly 15 feet, the moose pinned its ears flat, a clear signal of imminent aggression. He kept moving forward. The animal lunged without warning. His slick soles slipped on loose gravel as the moose drove into his torso and slammed him against his parked Range Rover with enough force to dent the door panel. It drove him to the pavement, brought a foreleg down on his head and shoulders, then struck again. The entire attack lasted 40 seconds. Paramedics found Rhett unresponsive with massive cranial trauma, a crushed chest, and severe spinal injuries. He was pronounced dead at 9:47 a.m. Wild animals don't read intention, they read behavior. Ignoring distance, ignoring warnings, and trying to connect can turn seconds into fatal consequences. Respect space or pay the price. The venture capitalist and the chimps he thought he understood. Darien Kestrel. It was August 21st, 2017, and the late afternoon sun was casting long shadows across a private vineyard estate outside Napa Valley when Darien Kestrel climbed into his golf cart and drove toward the enclosure despite his handler's direct objection. Darien was a 46-year-old venture capitalist from San Francisco who had paid nearly $70,000 for two adult male chimpanzees named Titan and Brutus, housed behind his main residence. His full-time handler had filed at least 6 incident reports in the months prior, documenting escalating aggression between the two males. Each time, Darien dismissed the concern. He insisted he had a rapport with the animals that transcended ordinary dynamics. Adult male chimpanzees weigh between 88 and 132 pounds, but their muscle composition produces significantly greater peak force than a human of similar size. Their arms can snap bone. Their canine teeth exceed an inch in length. Most critically, chimpanzees are not domesticable. Even those raised from infancy retain wild instincts, and males entering peak physical maturity become explosively unpredictable during dominance conflict. That afternoon, Titan and Brutus were locked in escalating aggression. The handler called Darien and recommended managing the situation from outside. Darien arrived by golf cart, retrieved the enclosure key, and entered. Titan immediately redirected onto Darien, charging 15 feet before he could react. The first bite shattered both bones in his forearm. Titan then climbed onto his torso and clamped onto the left side of his face, tearing away part of the cheek and lower jaw and exposing bone underneath. The chimp then shifted downward, inflicting catastrophic damage to the groin, consistent with femoral artery trauma. The handler forced entry with 2 management poles and drove Titan back. The attack had lasted 4 minutes. Darien went into cardiac arrest during transport and was pronounced dead at 5:43 p.m. Familiarity creates confidence, but never control. When professionals document repeated danger, ignoring it doesn't make you different, it makes you exposed. Instinct always wins. The man who trusted a predator on stage. Roy Horn. It was October 3rd, 2003, inside the Mirage in Las Vegas. The room was packed. Cameras rolling, music swelling. This wasn't just any performance. This was Roy Horn, one of the most famous animal handlers on Earth, standing inches away from a full-grown white tiger named Manticore. Roy had worked with big cats for decades. By that point, the duo had performed over 5,000 shows, building an empire around the idea that these apex predators could be controlled through trust, conditioning, and routine. But biology doesn't retire. Male white tigers like Manticore can weigh over 450 pounds, with bite forces estimated above 1,000 pounds per square inch. Their canines can reach nearly 3 inches long, designed not just to puncture, but to clamp and hold. At approximately 8:25 p.m., something shifted. According to eyewitnesses and later reports, Roy missed a cue. He attempted to guide Manticore back into position using a microphone as a pointer. The tiger responded instantly, grabbing Roy by the neck and dragging him off stage. This was not random aggression. According to animal behavior experts, big cats often target the neck because it's the fastest way to neutralize prey. Compressing the carotid arteries can cause unconsciousness in seconds. Audience members initially thought it was part of the act. It wasn't. Manticore dragged Roy nearly 20 feet. Trainers rushed in. One reportedly shouted commands while another used fire extinguishers to disorient the animal. Roy suffered massive blood loss, a severed artery, and a stroke. He survived, but never performed again. The billionaire who stepped out into lion territory. Bernd Kebbel. It was May 31st, 2025, just after midnight, at a remote luxury camp along Namibia's Skeleton Coast. The desert was silent, wind barely moving across the dunes, when Bernd Kebbel unzipped his tent and stepped outside. He wasn't reckless, he wasn't drunk, he wasn't chasing an animal. He just needed to use the toilet. What he stepped into was one of the most dangerous predator environments on Earth. Desert-adapted African lions are not like their savanna counterparts. Studies by the Desert Lion Conservation show these lions travel over 100 kilometers across harsh terrain, hunting in smaller groups and relying heavily on ambush tactics at night. Their survival depends on efficiency. And at night, human vision drops dramatically. A lion's does not. Adult lionesses weigh between 260 and 400 pounds, but their real advantage is acceleration. They can reach speeds of 50 to 60 kilometers per hour in short bursts, closing distance before a human brain even processes the threat. Sometime between 12 and 12:30 a.m., witnesses reported hearing sudden distress sounds. By the time help reached him, it was over. Investigators later confirmed a lioness had approached silently in darkness and launched a direct ambush. Like most lion attacks, the focus was the upper body and neck area, targeting vital structures. The attack likely lasted seconds. No prolonged struggle, no warning growl, just impact. Despite being at a high-end camp with experienced staff, Kebbel had stepped outside the protected zone at the exact moment a predator was already moving through the area. The hunter who triggered a kill response. Asher Watkins. It was August 3rd, 2025, in South Africa's Limpopo province. Asher Watkins, a wealthy American land broker, was on a guided safari hunt pursuing one of Africa's most feared animals, the Cape buffalo. In hunting circles, it's called Black Death, not because of its size alone, but because of how it reacts when threatened. Adult Cape buffalo can weigh between 500 to 900 kilograms. Their horns form a solid bony shield called a boss, capable of absorbing rifle impact. But what truly makes them dangerous is behavior. According to research from African Wildlife Foundation, wounded or pressured buffalo often don't flee. They circle back, they wait, then they charge. Watkins had already been tracking the animal when the encounter escalated. Reports indicate the buffalo turned suddenly and launched a full charge. At close range, buffalo can reach speeds of over 50 kilometers per hour, covering 30 meters in under 3 seconds. There is no time to react. The animal lowered its head, using its horns as both shield and weapon. The initial impact drove into Watkins' upper body, likely lifting and throwing him backward before the horns penetrated. But it doesn't stop at one strike. Buffalo are known for hooking, using their horns to toss and gore repeatedly until the threat stops moving. Studies of fatal encounters show multiple puncture wounds and massive internal bleeding are common. Guides attempted to intervene, but the window was seconds. By the time the animal disengaged, the damage was already catastrophic. The millionaire and the chimp that tore a face apart. Travis Case. It was February 16, 2009, in Stamford, Connecticut, inside a quiet suburban home owned by Sandra Harold. What lived inside that home was not a pet. It was a 200-pound adult male chimpanzee named Travis. Chimpanzees share nearly 98% of human DNA, but physically they are built very differently. Studies from primate biomechanics research show they can generate up to 1.3 to 1.5 times the pulling strength of an average adult human, with significantly denser muscle fibers in the upper body. Their bite force is estimated around 1,300 psi, comparable to large predators. That afternoon, Travis became agitated. When Charla Nash arrived at the house, Travis attacked almost instantly. There was no warning growl, no pacing, just explosive violence. He targeted the face first. Primate attack behavior often focuses on dominance and disfigurement: eyes, nose, lips, hands. Within seconds, Travis tore away Nash's eyelids, nose, lips, and hands. The damage was so extreme that later medical reports described near-total facial destruction. A 911 call captured the chaos. Sandra Harold can be heard screaming, reportedly saying, "He's eating her, please hurry." Police arrived minutes later. When Travis advanced toward officers, he was shot multiple times before retreating and dying shortly after. The attack lasted less than 5 minutes, but the injuries required over a dozen reconstructive surgeries, including one of the first full face transplants ever performed in the United States. Sandra Harold's estate, valued in the millions, later became central to legal settlements. The private reserve owner who walked into a lion enclosure. Mike Hodge. It was May 30th, 2018, inside Marikele Predator Center. This was not a tourist mistake. This was a man inside his own facility. Mike Hodge was a wealthy lodge owner who had worked around big cats for years. That day, he entered an enclosure to inspect a pride of lions. At first, nothing seemed wrong. Then, without warning, one male lion broke from the group and charged. Adult male lions can weigh up to 550 pounds, but the real danger is acceleration. Studies show lions can cover 10 meters in under 1 second during a charge. Hodge had no time to react. The lion knocked him to the ground and immediately targeted his upper body. As with most predatory attacks, the focus was the neck and head region. Witnesses reported the lion clamped down and began dragging him across the enclosure. This is standard kill behavior. Lions aim to suffocate prey by compressing the throat or severing major vessels. Other staff rushed in, firing shots to stop the attack. The lion released. Hodge survived, but with severe injuries, including damage to the neck and upper body, consistent with a high-force bite and dragging trauma. What makes this case critical is not just the attack itself, but the context. Handlers had reportedly worked around these animals daily. Feeding routines, proximity, repetition, all of it creates a false sense of predictability. But lions do not operate on routine. They operate on instinct. If this video made you think twice about what money can't protect you from, drop a comment below and subscribe. We cover stories like this every week.